All right, hello and welcome back. We're back on the video game grind. So we are now on to episode 8 of our building our very own video game using OpenGL and C++. And this episode is going to be completely dedicated to like error handling and just like error building and all that sort of fun stuff. So we're going to be working on a logger function as well as our handling OpenGL errors, which can be a bit tedious if you don't know what you're doing. So we're going to make sure that you can at least look these up and handle them accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead, hide my camera, and let's get right into it. We're just going to go ahead and create our logger file here. And this is going to be a custom logger file. You can use like a pre-built one. It would work just the same. But in this logger file, all we're really going to be doing is printing to IOStream. One thing that's nice about these applications, especially like Windows applications, they automatically log their errors to file if there is no standard cout. So you don't have to define a file, but you can. So there is like a way you could set it up so it goes to like a custom file or something like that. You can look into doing that yourself. I'm just going to log to IOStream at all times. And this is going to be just a nasty mess of static functions, which we will be defining here. So let's define the first one here, standard string get severity. This will convert, I guess we have to create the enum first. That would be smart. Enum class severity and the different severity types. So it's going to be low, medium, and high severities. And each of these severities are going to like do a different action in our like error handling for our logger. So if we have like a low error, then that probably doesn't have like a huge impact on our program. So we won't really have to like exit or do anything. So get severity here, that's just going to convert our enum values, what is this, 0, 1, and 2, into like actual strings. So this converts like low into low, but actually in string form as opposed to just the enum class form. You could just do it like in like string form, but I don't know, I think that's like a bit tedious. You could also just set it up so there's just definitions. Low is equal to low in string form, yada yada. But we're going to do it like this way because why not? And we're going to delete the constructor here as we don't want to actually ever create a logger instance. Just want to be able to use the functions. So let's go ahead and create those functions here. So there's going to be 3 different functions. Message, which displays a message to the standard cout in our formatted sort of way. Not a string. Well, it is a string, but not like that. Let's call that message. Just copy and paste that 3 times. And then we have warning. So warning is going to have standard string message as well as, these have to actually return something. So let's return void. And you know what? We'll define that as error as well. So this also has to have a warning severity. So there's 3 different types of warning severities: low, medium, high, already defined in that enum above. So we'll do that there, severity. And similarly, error is going to have 3 different types of severities. We can spell severity right. Severity. Boom. Well, we actually did not spell severity right. So unfortunate. There you go. That is our logger class. So now we just have to implement it. Let's go ahead, create our logger.cpp. And we'll go over a little bit more in detail what exactly we're doing, because I have to make this, at least a little bit entertaining of sorts. I mean, obviously it's coding. It's more informative. You're probably just more interested in what the final product is than what exactly I'm doing here, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and switch statement a severity here. So switch severity. Case will be low. Turn low. I guess it doesn't. Okay, yeah, it's working correctly. Severity, medium, return, you guessed it, medium. If we can spell. Then lastly, I guess we could just default this last one because there's only 3 different values. So we might as well just default it. Return high. And that completes our get severity function there. Message is going to be the easiest. All we're going to be doing is standard C out our message. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and type out our message like so. And then we'll add an end line, standard and L. Then for our warning, we're also going to standard C out our warnings because generally they don't really matter, but we do want to make sure we log the severity of the warning. So we'll just do that there. We'll call this a warning in all caps, and then we'll add a colon there. Then our message, and then we'll end L and also log the severity. So we'll go ahead, log it like so. Similarly, as such, and then this is severity. Boom. Well, I guess we have to call our get severity function, don't we? Yeah. Get severity. Actually, since it's static, we have to call it like this. All right. In fact, this is kind of going off the screen, so let's go ahead and put that to a new line. Copy that over to our error. Replace warning with error. And we have a few different things we have to do if our error is like different values. So if our let's see here, how are we exiting our screen right now? We're exiting it while GLFW window should close. We're going to go ahead and just create a game file here. Let's go ahead, create a new game. It's going to be game.h. And we're going to add another nasty static variable. So let's go ahead and define it here. So static bool exit. And then we have to also define it in CPP because you can't define it in header. You can't define static variables in header like that. Oh, frick. There you go. Now we got our CPP file. Include game.h, game, exit, bool game, exit is equal to false. Game has no member exit. Yes, you're right. Well, now it does. There you go. So if severity, I guess we just do a switch here as well. Let's do switch severity again. In fact, we could just copy and paste what we were doing here. So if it's low, we just return. If it's medium, then we want to set game exit to true. And if it's high, I guess we'll have to also include game here. If it's high, we want to throw. So we don't even want it to return anything. We just want to see the stack immediately as if we're debugging it. So high error messages, hopefully we never get while we're running on live. And there are other ways we can handle this so we don't have to throw it on live. We can actually change this later. So that's kind of what is nice about having a logger function, is you can change it based on what state you're running the game in. So game, is equal to true. So in our main here, so while game exit, and then if window should close, game exit is equal to true. Let's include game in a bunch of different places here, just so we have that all figured out. And it looks like we do. So our logger function's all working now. So let's go ahead and just change a logger place, and I'll change the rest later. So instead of C error here, actually I'm going to keep that. So game, sorry, not game, logger. Let's go ahead and include logger. Logger, this is error. And this is a pretty big error, so we'll go ahead and call this error high. Severity high. And that's going to be our logger message. And we have this, we have to place this in a bunch of different places, but we just don't care for now. So instead of including IOStream and like doing this C error, C out, and then doing a bunch of messages here, you can just kind of do a single message like so. And that's a bit easier. Obviously, there's certain cases where C out is a bit easier than doing our message function, just because dealing with strings as opposed to a string stream, it's a bit easier to handle, but that's fine. So our logger, we'll also just let's log like a few things. I mean, maybe we could. I guess one thing we could do. We could do some reference counting. So let's just actually just go ahead and do that for our components. So whenever, so we now delete this. Whenever we create a component, component, we'll have a, I guess, a public variable, static component count, this is probably gonna have to be a size t. We want it the largest function for there. Add function type void. Yeah, no. And then component count ++. Then on iComponent for deletion, we want to subtract. So this is just a very simple way of keeping track of what you've created and what you haven't. So component count minus minus. Then we'll do the same thing with entity. In fact, let me just copy and paste what we did here. Replace component count with entity. Yeah. Someone actually asked me about this. You don't need to do this at all. It's kind of funny to do that, but it's not really worth it. Let's see here. Copy and paste that. Delete this. And instead of component count, call this entity count. And boom, we have now reference counting. A very, very simple rudimentary approach. Obviously, it's not very good, especially if you have more entities than can fit in an unsigned long. Then you obviously are going to run into an issue there. It's going to overflow. But for the time being, especially starting up, this is completely fine and not really it's not really that bad of a practice. I've seen this in a lot of different programs. It works. Yeah, so this works. So we can now log that. Well, we have to first define. Before we log that, we have to get component.cpp as well as entity.cpp. So inside of here, we'll include component.h, our I component count is equal to 0 ULL. Then we have to define it like so, auto. I guess we should probably define it as size t in case it decides to put it something else. That could be an issue. And let's just copy and paste this and do the same thing in our entity.cpp here. Include entity.h. And then entity count zeroed out. Perfect. And now we can actually test our logger, well, with what I wanted to test it with, which is counting our creation of shaders and component and entities. And I already see an issue here, because these this component texture and component shader are not connected to an entity, so they're not going to get deleted when we delete eGame here. So let's go ahead and logger message. Let's call this like entity count. And then we'll do plus toString, standard toString. Entity count. Wow, this is some very poor spelling. This has not been good. I've been increasing the length of this video by a lot just from not spelling things correctly. This is I component. All right, and then we'll do the same thing at the end of our window here. We could even do it as a warning. So let's go ahead and test that. Warning. Then we got to put a severity. So we'll put severity high. Why not? It's a high warning. So if we run this, what should happen is we should get a warning for if so let's actually put some if statements. If entity count, we do a warning saying our entity count is over our reference limit, so we're not deleting everything. And then same thing here. Component count. If component count is not 0, that means we didn't delete all of our components properly. And if we run this, we should come up with, I think, like 2 different components we didn't delete. Maybe 3. Yeah, 3. Let's see, shader, texture, and yeah, another texture. So we should come up with no errors for our entity, so we're deleting everything properly through eGame. But we did not delete everything properly for our component, so let's go ahead and run that. See if it comes up with our warning message. Or we just get a bunch of build errors. Interesting. It's linker errors. Unresolved external symbol. Public static game exit. In Logger. Why would that be an issue in Logger? Because I'm including game.h in logger.cpp. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I have no idea why that's erroring out. It seems to have worked in my code. I'm going to have to pause for a second. I honestly have no idea. I think this is a new Visual Studio's problem. Fucking jackasses. Burn them to death. I clicked rebuild, and if you'll notice, it rebuilds logger.cpp for game before game.cpp, so it's throwing an error because game.exit is not defined first. So game.cpp needs to be built first. So I don't know how exactly to do that. Besides like having to do some like nonsense. It should not, and I repeat, it should not be building logger first. But for some reason it is. Especially since it's based off of game.cpp. I don't know. Maybe if I include game.cpp in logger. Yeah, see, now it freaking works. I've never had that happen. That's entirely on Visual Studios. They're out of their minds. They're out of their minds. They're past the deep end with that one. So as you can see here, there's a lot of components, very few entities. Let's go ahead and delete our project. Looks like we have another error here. Don't know what happens here. Operator delete. It looks like it's deleting here. Decount 2. So we have 4 entities. Our game is messing that up. Interesting. Is it going over the limit? Unknown block. What is going on? Entity count 2. It's having trouble. It should be able to subtract that. So I don't think it's an issue with that. I don't know what it's rummaging about. Oh boy. Oh boy. These kind of errors are just always they blow me super hard. They're so dumb. Looks like it's trying to do a free block on a entity. Do I define an entity that's not... because I'm using unique pointers. So like it shouldn't really have an issue here. It should just be clearing. And then calling entity count minus minus, which is a static static variable, so it shouldn't have any issue there. Even if it overflows, who cares? Which I guess could be an issue if you go underneath 0. If you're deleting more than you're creating, it could end up being an error. Maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. Defines the scalar operation delete. Let's just run it again. Hopefully it doesn't do that this time. Exited with something. What is it? What? What is going on? Node, delete value. All right, hold on. Pausing the video. I'll figure this out. I think it has something to do with including this game.cpp. That's the only freaking thing that makes me that's like different from my other code. I can't figure this stupid. This is just dumb. This is literally brain dead. I don't know what's going on. See, eGame is eGame, not it's a new entity. It's deleted properly. Maybe we haven't actually added anything to eGame, so maybe we just add stuff to eGame. So eGame dot add ID child, and we'll just input the string. I don't know, camera. And the entity is eCamera. I'm about to give up. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm gonna look at this later, I guess. This is honestly just making me mad. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. This is not working. I got stuff to do today too. I can't be sitting around debugging stuff that already works on my other machine. This is ridiculous. I don't know. There's like maybe like a bunk version of Visual Studios that's doing this. Who knows? I'll probably have to reinstall it, because I actually have no idea why this is not working. I've never seen that error. Scalar error, something like that. Here we go. Yeah, we got CRTD cell. It doesn't even work now. It doesn't even create the entities now. What is going on? It can't. It's like not moving the memory properly. I don't know. I don't know at all. I retried like copy and pasting the stuff I did on Splaytree from a different project that I know works. It's running on the same version of Visual Studios. It still doesn't work. I tried changing like how I delete things. I've tried a few different things. It's just this stuff's just blowing me right now. This is supposed to be a debug episode, but In this case, the IDE won this round. So we'll have another episode on this. I'll try and fix a few things, maybe reinstall this. I don't know. I'm done with this today. Let me turn on. Well, here we go. Here's a little outro. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll get into this again on another episode, part 2 of debugging, I guess.